illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. This kind of bringing in or awakening the sacred imagination. Very important in all of, really in anything that you do. If you do not awaken your imagination in a conscious way, what I think Colben, he coined the term, right? Creative imagination, right? Which I thought is a very beautiful word for the translation for khayal, right? Because you are, which we know in Urdu can mean just thinking. It's much more than that. Yeah. It is the imagination. So it's the imaginal, perceptions, right? And so creative imagination, adds very subtly a kind of conscious, work you're doing with your imagination. So imagine if you're cultivating your imagination, right? So cultivating consciously the creative imagination in life. If you do it in life, you will be successful. If you're visualizing what you're going to do and something that you love or something that you're planning, normally if you care about something, to whatever you do, if you realize it, you have visualized it first. All right. Whether it's a very amazing, important event, or it's a sin, I hate to say. Yeah. You have visualized that thing, right? So it's been used by your Nafs. So either the Nafs will co-opt your imagination and it will make you visualize the sins you're going to do, or you can more consciously and creatively use the imagination, right? And in all walks of life, but especially in spirituality, in religion, in learning, as I was just giving you all these examples of when you learn a hadith or when you learn a religious teaching and then you imagine about it, then you just learn more. The depth and the breadth of your realization expands. This is how one learns. The knowledge becomes compounded when you apply not just a deductive reasoning and this kind of this and that, but when you bring in the imagination and how this insight that's taken, that extracted from a teaching or from a learning, can be applied in so many other ways. This is the expansive nature of learning. And actually, Imam Ghazali speaks of this, how a particular understanding can be taken, its inner meaning or its meaning, and then just applied in so many ways, and that aggregates or compounds or increases knowledge on multiple planes. And the missing element here is to speak about, especially in contemplation, because I think it's in the book of Contemplation, actually, that the imagination, the sacred imagination. So this word is not brought out enough, but is brought out in Ibn Arabi. Yeah. When he speaks of the sacred imagination, the creative imagination of God, actually, but how the human soul mirrors this. And in the sacred imagination of God, you could say that we are a thought of God, but we are in this reality and we are real. He has thought us into existence. Just as we, in our mirror of our mind and heart, when we think of ideas in the imagination, in the khayal, we can bring it out into existence. Right? How we make, how the architect makes architecture. Yeah. Anything, or how you plan a session, learning session. It starts with the khayal. It starts with the internal thoughts that then are manifested. So the connection between what is an insight in potentia and the imagination as the intermediary kind of realm and its manifestation, right, is a profound thing. And so in that context, then Allah Ta'ala, he applies it, or Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he applies it to spirituality, excellence in spirituality, to pray and to worship God as if you see him, to worship God in such a way that it's as if you are actually witnessing him. Where? In your sacred imagination, spiritually. But of course, understanding you cannot witness God. But when you try this with faith, you stop and something else witnesses you, or you awaken to that reality witnessing you. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what happens. If you attempt this, just imagine now that you are witnessing God. Let's actually do this. Okay, I challenge you all. Okay, that's it. So that we verify by direct experience what I'm talking about. Bismillah. Now imagine, after you've taken a few breaths in and out, now imagine that you're in a deep state of contemplation, whether in meditation, in Muraqaba, or your ritual prayer. You're in a deep state of meditation or personal supplication, a very private one in the Hajj time or whenever. And now imagine that you are so absorbed in it that you are with God, you are witnessing Allah as you deeply contemplate and pray and meditate and supplicate. Let's go to this. Let's go there in our sacred as ifness, in our sacred kannaka of the hadith, in our sacred imagination. Bismillah. As you participate in this exercise in your sacred imagination, stay open to any insights and observe very subtly as you're in this what begins happening. Just simply observe and stay fully present for the exercise. Bismillah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. We're going to do a few more of these exercises right now, but I want to open the floor for one or two comments. Did anything happen for anyone? Or would anyone like to share? I'm not expecting anything happening. I just meant, would you like to share? Does something happen, Saida, or would you like to share?
Maybe because we already had done a meditation previously, and I was already a little bit more present, but it was just very fast to become present.
Good.
And to just notice Allah's presence.
Good.
Without thoughts or anything else kind of coming around.
Did anything else happen? So when you noticed that Allah is present, how did you notice that? And what was happening there? Was there a visualization of something in the imagination? As ifness, as if you're seeing him. What was that?
So I had my eyes closed and I could feel like my face and all of my muscles and everything relaxing. And then I feel like I see like all in front of me, like as if a light has switched on.
As if a light has
It's
been
been turned on.
all right.
Just like that, like not dots or something like this, just the whole space. It's very much like light is on.
Mashallah.
And this is what how I tend to notice that I'm starting to, I don't know if it's the right word, but feel like I'm falling into the Allahu Hadri. Okay?
Falling into the presence of God.
This is how I normally notice it.
All right, mashallah. That's interesting insight.
It's an inviting.
And that's a personal landmark. That's just a personal, that's a unique way for you to recognize that in your direct experience. There's no right or wrong here. No, there isn't. Especially with the sense of nur, because Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. So Allah says He's the light of the heavens and the earth. So if there's an awakening to a light, then this is prophetic.
It always makes me feel warm.
And you feel a sense of warmth. So this is also interesting and good. Say, excellent. Say that. I'm happy to hear all that. And see how the as ifness. We see how you, and this is now stepping back for all of you, because I think that experience says something about from all of yours point of view, perhaps, and feel free to speak up if you'd like to say something. But when you did this exercise as an exercise of imagination, something occurred. Maybe it was the meditation that brought you into a place of stillness faster, and then you were more awakened to God's presence. Maybe that's the case, right? But that is interesting that in the exercise of just imagining it, that occurred. Maybe faster than if you're sitting yourself and concentrating and trying to make it happen, right? Because when you just imagine that's the case, something else happens. You mentioned maybe you use a word of the relaxing and opening, or something that feels that opens. So what is that? That's very interesting. Why does that happen, but that doesn't sometimes happen? Of course, the tawfiq of Allah, grace of Allah, right? But there's something there about the sacred imagination, right? Something that is then either suggested to the soul or rather opens the heart in as ifness, in this imagination, in the sacred imagination. We're not talking about imaginary. We're actually talking about, cultivating consciously your imagination, like your faculty of imagination to just open you to the sensation, the feeling, the thinking, the knowing, the perceiving of this. So whatever it is, here in our case, it's being aware that God sees you or that you see God, right? You want to use all that you are to do this, right? When we do this in other subjects or things that we love, it expands us in some way in the subject, right? When we're learning. If you're not engaging actively and even almost in a fun way, even slightly unconsciously, your imagination in your learning process, you will learn less quickly and it will not be integrated. This is the case for language, it's the case for all subjects, right? This is very important that people do not understand. So how about the divine subjects, right? The ilmun ilahiyah, right? Or the ilahiyat.
Or the divine subject.
Or yes, but we mean it in this way, right? Yeah. So Bismillah, you're about to say something, Sidi?
I mean, so what was interesting is exactly what you were saying. Imagining first of all that I was in a deep state of meditation, it actually brought me there. And then imagining that God was that I was speaking to him and he was responding, something real happened.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? Something real happened and with less effort, kind of.
No effort.
With no effort, right? Something actually happened. It was real and it took less effort, right? So in the prophetic teaching is an amazing pointer, as if, right, I can almost feel and see the Prophet ﷺ smiling, right? This is the secret, as if.
That's a direct pointer.
Yes, it's a direct pointer.
It's more direct than anything else.
The Prophet ﷺ, he does not mince words. His words are very precise, as if you see him.
It's like finally you pay attention.
Yes, yes. And if you do not see him, so this can mean two things. Oh, you're not going to see him, so I'm going to say this now.
Yeah.
Like that's one meaning that everyone takes,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're in your head, well, when your the mind comes on, but when your tasawwuf or spirituality heart opens of imagination, sacred imagination, what that means is, okay, if you weren't able to actually see God as if you see him, then this. Isn't that interesting?
Mm.
Right? Because there's something else happening in the as ifness, in the world of as ifness. This is very subtle, but it's all there. The whole teaching of the sacred imagination, right? It's not just one element of sacred imagination is visualization, but sacred imagination is much more than even that. But as ifness, everything is contained in this.
لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله